kind of going into skills and like skill acquisition. So I felt all of the struggles that everyone feels when you pause, you don't, what's your next step going to be? You're not sure what industry, what role to go for. But very recently, I've kind of tried to have the mentality of just focusing on going out for and developing your like transferable skills and soft skills to build up who you are. What can you bring to the table as a person in terms of soft skills?
Yeah, well, I'm obviously biased because I just wrote a book about soft skills, but I honestly attribute a lot of my success to having those soft skills, to having an owner's mindset, to being very accountable, to constantly, continue teaching myself and learning and growing, my ability to influence people and tell stories. I think all of these gave me an edge that went beyond having the marketing knowledge. You still need to have a profession. You still need to understand the basics, but that could only take you so far because that's table stakes. I mean, anyone who's a marketer is going to learn, exactly what you're learning if they want to get a job. What makes the difference is what happens when you get into the workforce and how you actually operate. And the funny thing is, there was a research from almost 100 years ago that actually showcases that 75% of your career success actually comes from soft skills and not from your hard skills. But for some reason, when you go to university or when you do your MBA, no one really teaches you about that. It's just assumed that you'll figure it out, but that's not the case. So I will definitely say investing in developing your soft skills is, something really, really important if you want to stand out, if you want to be that invaluable employee and not just someone who checks off boxes. And anyone can do that. I mean, it's not rocket science. It just, requires awareness and just spending time and practicing because it doesn't happen overnight.
So obviously you spoke about the importance of soft skills, and I think I know the answer from kind of hearing your career path, but how did you develop your own soft skills? Were you just naturally curious, naturally proactive to always having your eyes open to look for opportunities, or has it been something that you've developed over time?
Definitely developed over time. I mean, no one starts, having everything and knowing everything. As I mentioned, I didn't necessarily have someone to come and tell me, here are the 5 top soft skills you need to learn, but I did have great managers. And I think through watching them and just interacting with them, I picked up on a lot of different cues on how to, manage difficult situations, how to influence people, get stakeholder buy-in and things like that. A lot of the other things, I'm not even sure how I picked that up because when I think about my career, even early on, like really, really early, my first real job, I was half secretary, half florist. I worked for this really small farm, seriously. And even then, I knew, like I had that desire to really help the business. I wasn't thinking just about myself and my job. I was thinking about them. So I remember I was hired to do a job and I was paid, full time, but I got my job done in like 3 or 4 hours every day. And, I had a choice. Should I just kind of take it easy, relax and enjoy my time? Or should I do more? And I immediately, asked for more work and I wanted to learn and I took on more responsibility. And with that actually came a raise that I never asked for. So I think it was kind of an instinct, but after doing it, more than once with this job and then with a travel agency, I realized, okay, that is what people want. This is what makes managers happy. I should probably do more of that.
So would you say that anyone who's in any sort of job that they should kind of question the way that things are currently being done? So instead of, going in on Monday and just getting, these are my roles for the week, it's like, it sounds like you questioned a lot. Like, hang on, like I can actually get all of my work done in 3 to 4 hours, which means that I can cover the work that's expected of me and I can use the rest of the time to either develop my skills or to develop the company. Do you think in general people ask enough questions in that regard?
I do think that being a fixer, so being able to identify problems and then solving them, is actually a really great way to grow your career because 1, you get to tackle, new challenges, but 2, if you're the one actually surfacing those problems and you care enough to actually take action, I think that speaks very loudly about who you are and how invaluable you are for a company. I actually have a chapter in the book that explains how to take time every month to actually think about that and try to see if you can find ways to optimize processes or to do something better and not ignore it. And it shouldn't be like your main focus, but just by paying attention to really small things, you can find so many different ways to improve the way, a company works or even just your team, and really get the credit for taking the time to, solve a problem and make things better. So I would say that's definitely a great skill to have.
And then I guess you then start getting introduced to all the different meetings, and the senior members of the team would then kind of see you as someone invaluable who's got great ideas, who's always worth being kept in the loop, and then you can just have a broader sort of view of everything that's going on.
You have good managers, that's what happens, but unfortunately, that's not always the case. Some people feel, intimidated because, you do your job well and they don't necessarily see how your job reflects on them, and instead they kind of push back. I've unfortunately experienced, that kind of pushback. There are different ways to go around it, but sometimes it just means you need to find a different team or a different company.
So would you be able to tell us a little bit about that without maybe naming names so you don't get in trouble?
Yeah, I mean, it's as simple as I mentioned. I mean, some people just feel intimidated when someone else takes initiative, or maybe if I, outline something that they have missed, instead of thinking like a good manager. I mean, for me, my team reflects on me. So I actually empower them to do as much as possible because, when they're successful, I'm successful. But some people just see it as competition. And I don't think there's a lot you can do about it. Usually what I try to do is to kill them with kindness. So even if I, found a problem or I fixed it, I would get them in the loop very quickly. And I will make sure that they get credit for it, not me. So I make them look better as a manager. And that approach has actually helped me. It takes a couple of times for them to understand they can trust you and you're only doing, what's best for the company. But you can actually kind of slowly shift their mind into a point where they trust you. And if that's not the case, I would highly recommend going somewhere else, because with that kind of leadership, it'll be very hard to move forward.
So in your own experience, have you had circumstances where you've gone above and beyond and you've tried to take another step on the ladder and there has been pushback because there's competition for that role, for example? So you want to get a promotion, but lots of people are trying to go for the same thing. And then you just want to do the best for your company. And you've got these external factors where people have an opinion that you're stepping on their toes. You're trying to impact the results they're getting. And they don't see that it's actually, if everyone does their job, does it better, ask questions, that everyone will be better off.
I never experienced having someone else compete with me per se. But as I mentioned, I definitely had people who didn't see eye to eye and didn't think that me taking initiative is a step in the right direction. And like I said, I mean, I did my best. I gave it like 6 months of really trying to, explain myself and show progress and kind of justify, everything that I was doing. But when that didn't happen, I just moved on.
Yep. So with the benefit of hindsight, what would be soft skills? What would be the 5 soft skills that you would tell anyone in marketing or anyone in general that they should be focusing on?
Oh, well, first and foremost, having an owner's mindset. This is the big one. And having an owner's mindset, some people mistakenly think it means, oh, you just work around the clock. That's not the point. Being someone who can see the bigger picture, understanding that you need to optimize for the business and not just for your own role, going beyond your scope. That's what it means for me, not necessarily just, working around the clock. And I think it's really challenging for people to accept that, because while you think like an owner and you act like an owner, you don't get the benefits. You don't get the upside, at least not immediately. So people find it really hard to kind of sacrifice and work hard when they don't immediately see results. But what I have to say is you're going to see those results in the long term in a really significant way. And I'm sure there are different ways to move up in your career, and some people, take a different approach. But for me, that has been the most successful and also the most rewarding, because in the process, I got to make real impact and, help a company grow. I would say the second one will be being a lifelong learner. So for some reason, people think the minute they're done with, college, university, whatever, they're done learning. And that's not the case. You have to deliberately and constantly continue to educate yourself, especially in marketing, because it changes every single day. There's something new every day, and you have to stay on top of your own industry and category and always know what's happening. So that's a really important skill. And more often than not, you need to motivate yourself to learn, because it's very hard to just say, okay, I'm going to spend the next 2 hours learning, and then you open your computer and you get lost in Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever. I think another one is something that a lot of people miss. So knowing how to optimize your work for impact. Instead of focusing on outputs, focusing on outcomes. So it doesn't matter if you get something done in time, it matters if you get the right thing done in time. Just to give you a quick example, if I was in marketing and my manager would tell me, I need you to write this and this blog post by tomorrow. A good employee will just, do what they're told. They'll write a story. Someone who is an invaluable employee and has the right soft skills would notice that it's the wrong topic or the wrong audience, and there's a better way to get it done. They will do the research, they will write a different type of blog post, and it will have much better results. So just having that ability to kind of think outside of the box and really think about what's the right thing to do, not, how to get things done. We're at number 3. So number 4 will be mastering storytelling. Not necessarily just as a marketer, but as a way to influence people around you, even when you don't have authority. So there's a whole formula in the book that talks about this really cool concept of it's not about you, it's about them. So every conversation you have, every time you try to get people to collaborate with you or give you budget or what's not, you always have to think about what is in it for them, what's the upside for them, and craft your story around that. Because as much as you want to think people are just, happy to help, they mostly want to help themselves. So just changing the perspective of the story usually really helps you, get people excited. And lastly, I would say accountability, which a lot of people mistake for responsibility, but it's not the same. If you're responsible, you'll get things done in time. If you're accountable, you'll make sure, again, that you're doing the right thing. You will admit your mistakes. And it comes from a place where you actually believe that you influence, you can influence your own life. You can make, choices, and you can change things. And it's a belief that you really have to grow internally first, so you can be accountable, not just for yourself, but also for other people.
So these 5 skills, are these skills that anyone can develop, anyone can improve on? Is it really about kind of knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses, knowing that these are important things that are valuable to learn, and just like, how would you suggest someone to improve these things? Is it experience? Is it testing accountability in different areas of their life? Is it talking to your colleagues and employees and your managers about how you can install accountability, how you can feel that you can take more ownership?
Yeah. Well, I think right now there isn't one place necessarily. So you can definitely start by reading my book. But in general, it starts with awareness, because a lot of people just don't realize there's a difference. They don't realize they have options to choose from. So I would say this is the first step. And then, there are actionable steps you can take. And this is what I explain in the book. Here are 5 things you can do today to start, thinking like an owner. You need to understand the business. So go and do research, understand, how does this business make money? Who are our customers, and so forth. If you want to become a lifelong learner, you can actually do a lot to automate the process of learning. So it's not hard for you to make a choice every time you want to learn. You can get the information coming to you, and I teach you how to do that. If you want to start creating opportunities for yourself, then actually put time on your calendar once a week for half an hour to map out, what are the skills that you need? What is the type of experience you're missing right now? And when you have that, understanding, then you can start looking at the business and think, okay, how can I actually use this current job to get those opportunities? So, a lot of people ask me about leadership. Like, I'm not a manager. How am I going to get leadership experience? And I say, well, you're at a company. If there's anyone in that company that's a little bit more junior than you, it doesn't matter where, they don't have to be in marketing, you can mentor them. And mentoring someone younger than you and helping them, that's leadership. That's the kind of experience you need to find. And I think for most companies, if you volunteer to do that, if you just ask someone if you can help them, they will probably say yes. So I think just having that awareness and then having a plan, which is usually just having the right questions in place.
I'm really learning how important it is to take ownership of, I think a lot of people, myself included, you read the job description and so say it might be digital marketing assistant, and then your next role after that you hope will be digital marketing executive and then maybe manager. So when you're at an assistant level, you read your job description, it almost keeps you at that level because these are the roles which the company is listed you need to fulfill. So you just think that's the ceiling. And I think that asking questions and actually saying, okay, how can we get these results better? What more is there for me right now in this position is I'm really taking that message away. It's really, really powerful. How can people get in contact with you, and when can we expect to buy your book?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, Maya Grossman, and if you want to read more about the book and download the toolkits and also the first chapter of the book, I'm giving it away for free. Just go to mayagrossman.com and you can find everything. The book should come out, pre-orders in August, and officially launch in September.
And what's the full title of the book?
The book is called Invaluable: Master the Skills You Need to Skyrocket Your Career. And it's basically a step-by-step guide for the 10 skills, the 10 soft skills that I honestly believe can, help you grow your career regardless of what you do. And it's what helped me, work for companies like Microsoft and Google, but also get promoted 10 times in 15 years. So if that's where you want to go, that's definitely the book for you.